love our next guest, Nick. I know you do too. Friend of the show. And there's a lot to get into. First and foremost, I always do this. It's still available on Amazon.com because a lot of people are going to be doing cooking during the holiday season. So what better way to do that than with a little help? And you can get help from our next guest by getting this book, Messy in the Kitchen. And that is Renee Paquette's cookbook that's available right now at Amazon.com. I know that for our show, Nick, me and Bully, November 26th, Tuesday night at the Gramercy Theater, Violetta is making 200 pierogies.
Oh, my goodness.
With some help from this book. Also, speaking of food, we have Meal and a Match, AEW Meal and a Match. That is, I watch religiously on YouTube. Renee and RJ City do a phenomenal job. Nick, I know we haven't had an opportunity to talk about it yet, but Full Gear is coming up on Saturday. And yeah, Nick, there was a Dynamite last night, by the way. And as I always
First time hearing of it on this show.
Yeah, and as I always say, and you agree, our next guest is the MVP of that show. I have no problem saying
I feel like that was taken out of context, but please continue with the intro. Yeah.
And you could watch her, obviously, every single Wednesday night on Dynamite. The one and only Renee Paquette joins us here. Renee, thank you so much.
Thank you. LaGreca, you are just always a pro, plugging all of my things. Just what a dream. Nick just met with sighs and shrugs and just back to the old bullshit.
You make a good point.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
No, it's great to see you both. Is it really early for you? You're up very early doing this show. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'll be okay. I don't sleep much, but
no, you're an early riser.
I do go from, because of the time change now, it's 2 hours difference because Arizona doesn't change their clocks, but it goes from pitch black when the show starts to like a postcard.
Yeah.
Sunrise outside in front of me. So it's kind of
good way to start the day.
Wild animals out there. Much like it's very like there's like snakes and rabbits and coyotes. Very similar to Cincinnati.
Do you know that LaGreca gets bears in his yard?
I've heard, yeah. And he also took a little ride down the back of his yard one time also. I think he was afraid of a bear.
What's going on outside the LaGreca house?
Yes.
Renee, you mentioned start of the day. Our day started this morning, and I think probably I'm not the only one that realized this, and maybe not obviously with you, but maybe other people who have worked with Nick. I found out this morning that Nick is just my friend from 9 to noon when we're doing this show. Like, once the show is over, he's not my friend. We don't have any kind of relationship. I text him. I send him things. He doesn't look at it. And what he did is that he used the excuse. By the way, Renee, I thought really was like a bullshit excuse of, well, LaGreca, you have an Android, I have an iPhone. And as soon as he said that, our phones lit up for the next 90 minutes about people who really judge other people by the phone.
Yes.
And it's a real thing.
It is. It's a rough spot. I would also just like to say that, no, I talk to Nick far more than I need to. I hear from this man all the time. There's too much. But luckily, the group chat that we're in is all iPhones. So that's nice. But I live in a house divided where I'm an iPhone. My husband is an Android user. And this green text, it just causes me a lot of pain and anguish. But there's no changing him. The man is set in his ways. It is what it is. So I can never leave him a proper voice memo. If I'm on a plane, I cannot communicate with him. It's very frustrating.
All right. So, but Renee,
Dave?
You're great. No, but this is great. I'm glad that we brought this up with Renee. And we will get into, AEW Dynamite from last night and everything that's happened on Saturday at Full Gear. But Renee, you love this man.
Yeah.
So you know what? It is annoying. It is annoying that he has an Android, but it doesn't stop you from the love that you have for this person. We have talked to people today that have broken up relationships based on what phone their significant other has in their pocket. It's crazy to me.
People are very unhinged about this. And while, of course, there are times, listen, my love for this man, it's what a bright light, but it just gets dimmed a little when the green texts come in. Or it's not even the green text. I don't really care about that. It's not being able to get a hold of you if I'm in a Wi-Fi only situation. That's the problem. This is the father of my child. Sometimes I need to talk to him. I'm not just talking to him to ask how the day is. Sometimes I need information and I can't get it.
All right. So now this brings up the next question. I hope I don't get too personal here. Have you had the conversation with Jon about maybe getting a different type of phone? And what was his response to that?
He wants nothing to do with the cloud. He's not interested.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't trust it. I think he thinks something shifty is up with Apple and their products. So he's not interested. But I also think that he comes from an entire family of green textures. So
okay,
it's an
so
inherited
that's not just
trait.
something you're born with. It's passed down from generation to generation. That's it. And Dave, we're skipping over something that I mentioned earlier. You kind of glossed over, but Renee just said we travel, but everyone in this community travels so much. Now imagine when you're on Wi-Fi on a plane, you cannot talk to someone with a green bubble. You can't talk to them.
It's very stressful. What if I had to tell him something?
Yeah.
I
Maybe
can't.
you could send an email and it might go through and they might
I've had
get it,
to email him. I have to email my husband sometimes, like what from the desk of Renee Paquette. What the fuck?
All right.
Sorry.
All right. So Renee, that's okay. It's you know this. You know.
I know.
All right. So now this brings up, because we got to bring it back to wrestling. Is it true that every member of the Death Riders, talking about Claudio, we're talking about everybody, Wheeler, they're all Android users? Like this whole Death Riders faction is based on.
It's all based on.
They all have Androids. Is this true?
I don't think that's true. I think that I can confirm that Claudio is not an Androider. The other guys, I'm not sure. Maybe.
Maybe it's slowly infiltrating. That's like week after week as the Death Riders continue to take over. Maybe that's the difference. And it's like, hey, brother, watch your back. Here's an Android. It's on me.
Possibly. Maybe they're using Blackberries. I don't know.
This could cause a rift, because Jon, as the leader of the Death, he could send out a message to everybody, a group chat, if you.
They'd never get it.
And Claudio doesn't get it because he has the iPhone.
Pull the truck up. Meet me here. We're all gonna go burn down the building. Hey, where is everybody? Where is Claudio by himself in a parking lot?
I know.
Swinging an orange cone around. Disgusting.
Never work.
I'm sorry. I hope we're not going too deep on like the politics of AEW.
No, you're asking the right questions. Yes. Turn it all over.
All right, so let's get into it. Like, how have you enjoyed your time with AEW thus far?
It's been great. It's a lot of fun being able to work with different talent and seeing like the different levels too. It's like, you have some people that are a little more veteran status that know exactly what they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish. And then you see some of the younger guys that have these different ideas. And that's the cool part too, is being able to like listen to how wrestling is changing and not just trying to instill, well, this is the stuff that we know and blah, blah, blah. Of course, you want to take some of the stuff that we know that works. But it's being able to listen to some of these younger guys and girls too about how they see wrestling and how they want to have their matches be. My stuff always comes from like the promo side of stuff. That's more my world, obviously. But yeah, it's really cool to see the growth in people as well. And I love being able to be there as sort of like that safety net to put people in a good position that I know that they're going to feel comfortable in this new territory. If you're someone that's not used to being on live TV, you're not used to doing a promo live or doing something last minute, I like to be that person to kind of bridge that gap for them.
I think you do that well. And for 2 seconds, I won't make fun of you. And I'll say like, that's like,
we're recording on this, right?
Oh no, we are absolutely not recording this. This is a commercial break as far as anyone knows, but no, you've done a bunch of things. We met a long time ago at a comedy show in friggin' Toronto, and there was different things that I was like, you could tell your strong points of acting or being on camera and all these things behind the scenes. How do you think it is you're so good at blending into whatever situation you're in when it comes to wrestling? Why do you think that worked out so well? Because there is several different things that you are good at, but it just perfectly plugs into all the different aspects of wrestling. Why the hell is that?
I think that the way that I kind of stumbled into wrestling, like you mentioned, like I knew Nic before I went to WWE. He was the first person in wrestling that I really was friends with. And then I was broadcasting for a sports network. I was, doing different acting things. I was doing all this other stuff. And then when it plopped in my lap to be doing a post WWE show that led to me eventually, obviously, going into WWE. But even prior to that, I played a ton of sports. So I think once I came from like the acting background, knew what it was like to play a lot of sports, to like understand, I guess, a little bit more about what you guys go through as athletes. I think being able to blend those worlds together and kind of put myself in those situations, I think that was maybe something that just clicked in my brain that made sense to understand what those situations are, to know are we doing something funny? Are we doing something serious? What are we coming out of? What are we going into? And it's all those stuff that really help to lend to making those moments feel more natural. I didn't go to broadcasting school, so I never intended on being a broadcaster. But that's why I think in the wrestling world, where it's like we are broadcasting, but we're more so telling stories, and it's more so acting and reacting rather than doing a news headline.
That's fair. And I've said a couple different times, it's like I grew up on Mean Gene Okerlund, and then that's him, and he's beloved, we love him, whatever. Have some couple dirty martinis with him, he's the best, whatever. That's so fantastic. Like having him almost like this authority figure in the background, but also a nice guy that you could, if you need somebody to scare him or back, he plays all the roles, but also can be like this breaking news journalist in our wrestling world.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you're a very much a new version of that, to where you have to be this Renaissance man or woman in the ring as wrestlers, but you're actually bringing it to the show behind the scenes or in the ring or in different aspects of it. So I think that's like someone that you could trust them, but also if he's making a joke and someone's having fun, he's in on the joke with you and like representing us. And also, which is really hard to do when you're doing fun stuff, is when it becomes serious, and then you can actually you become serious and that journalist and put it on like you're nervous to be there, but not in a cartoony 80s wrestling way. It's you're representing us backstage with whatever's happening right there. How do you do that? You know what I mean? Because it's like you adjust to it, and it's so weird. Like you can have a funny, like 2 weeks ago, last week, I watched your show. You're in 7 or 8 backstages. Some of them are boobs flying in your face and joking around. Some are funny ones. Some are ones where people don't talk. And then some are so damn serious, someone's going to murder the other guy across from them. And every single time, that's why I brought this up, you adjusted to it so perfectly that it was like you were in 6 different movies, but all believable. How the hell do you get to keep doing that?
I don't know. I think like also like I'm the audience kind of, like I'm helping to relay how we're supposed to feel about this. If I go into a promo with someone that's meant to be very serious and I'm doing some kind of goofy face, or I'm not treating it with the weight that it deserves, I've ruined that. Maybe not ruined it, but like I want to help add to something. And if it's just my tone is something that can help with that. And I think the way that I was able to learn that stuff as well, like I worked very closely with Mean Gene. I mean, we were doing studio shows together and stuff, but even just seeing how he operated and how he functioned, all that stuff, like I'm so happy I got to work with him in that capacity. But, I think just also learning from working with Vince, working with Kevin Dunn, working with those guys, they were so meticulous about how things were supposed to be done. And sometimes that could be a rough spot to be in, but I'm glad that I learned it that way, to understand that like I want to bring more to the table. It's not just, pop in there, ask a question, whatever. Like there is more to the job than just holding a microphone that, a lot of people can say that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's reacting and understanding. And I think, I luckily get to spend a lot of time with all the guys and girls, and I know how much they care about what they're doing. So I want to care at the same level that they do, to make sure that that same message is being received.
Renee, how difficult, or is it difficult at all, to be working, doing Dynamite on Wednesday nights, and you're a big part of that show, interacting with the entire roster, and then your husband is kind of like the top heel right now with this faction that's going on. It's a weird balance. How are you able to do it?
I don't know. I kind of just steer clear. I mean, the truth of it is, when Jon and I go to work, we've always been like this. He does his job, I do my job. We've always been like that. I honestly don't even see him most of the day. He's off doing his thing. I'm doing mine. I immensely respect what he does. And I think that's another level that helps me understand more of the wrestling business, and always has, is my relationship with him, obviously. So I love watching him do what he does, but my job is different, and I also really love what I get to bring to the table. So I just kind of stick to my job. I let him do his, and then we reconvene at the end of the night.
Because of the different ways I've said that you help out situations that you're in, do you feel more comfortable? Like, say it's not me and Nikki backstage, but if it's someone else, you're like, hey, listen, why don't you think of it this way? Like, do you ever offer any pieces, and are people receptive to it? Does anyone look at you like, you're trying to tell me how to fucking do my job? Beat it. You know what I mean?
It depends on who the person is. If I feel like I can see that somebody's stuck, I will, of course, jump in and try to provide a little bit more context, or maybe get them to look at it another way. I mean, I think that's another thing, like even like some of the longer form interviews that I get to do, for close up or what have you. It's like those are other moments too, where we can do a little bit more storytelling and longer than a 90-second hit, and being able to look at stuff through like a different lens, or maybe like ask a question another way that like I could set them up differently, maybe get something different out of them. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times I feel like the talent is actually very receptive to hearing that feedback. And I don't ever want to like overstep or act like I know better than anyone, because I don't. Wrestling's always changing, and our perspectives are always changing. So I think it's all always going to be situational, and just kind of like, I don't even have like a checklist of like, do this, do this, do this. But it's like, what is the moment we're trying to get? What are we trying, like, what are you trying to achieve in this promo? What's the best way to do that? Is there something that's going to have a better hook to it, or something that's going to have a better line to be a strong out? It's thinking about like some of that stuff. You don't want it to just be, you don't want to just fill 90 seconds. Do something with that 90 seconds.
Speaking of 90 seconds, we just have 90 seconds before the end of the hour. And so much of what you're doing, and I love the pre-shows that you do, and then the meal and a match with RJ City. Just quick about the chemistry you two have together.
Well, what can I say? This son of a bitch just rolled into my life. He's funny because him and I actually met at the same bar that Nick is talking about in Toronto, that him and I met at. I met RJ quite a while ago, but our paths really hadn't crossed much professionally until I came to AEW. And he's very quick. He's very funny. He understands this world very well. So much as it pains to say it pains me to say it, I do enjoy working with RJ. He is somewhat neurotic and never stops thinking about, can we do this? Let's try this. Let's try this other thing. He's a good creative person to have on your side for sure. So, I mean, to our chemistry, I don't know. I think we're just kind of messing around, and we can both kind of take barbs at each other and work well off of each other and think on our feet.
Awesome. Full Gear coming up on Saturday, Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center.
You coming?
A hot crowd. I'm sitting front row. I got front row tickets. So
right.
I will definitely see you. I can't wait. So
I will not be there. Saturday. Just so you know.
Boo.
I'll watch. Plane. I have to do homework. I work for the other place. Come on, man.
Well, let's come hang out. Get a sandwich.
All right, fine. No, I'm not. It is God's country in Jersey, but yeah, I don't know.
Listen, New Jersey is the greatest state. Everybody.
There is a Lookers connected to a diner that we could meet up at.
Noted.
Listen, they got a good ham and egg sandwich at that diner as well. Renee, thank you so much for the time, and we'll be watching
you guys.
on Saturday.
See ya.